Hello everyone, my name is Miju. I have been working as a math tutor for 3 years, and I have seen many students make the algebra errors when they are learning algebra or they are learning pre-cal. So today, I would like to share 8 most common algebra errors that they made on their quizzes and on their homeworks. So let's check it out. The first one is completing the square. Here is my example. I have x minus 2 squared and we want to simplify it. This is the incorrect sample that I saw a student made before. So what they did is just simply distributing the exponent to each term within the parentheses. So then they have a x squared minus 4. This is definitely wrong. How would we correct it? We can correct it by first expanding the square into the two parentheses, identical parentheses, since here's square. And after that, we can apply the FOIL method or the FOIL technique. So F stands for first, O stands for order, I stands for inner, L stands for last. So let's do the first, which are the first term in each parentheses. So we have an x multiplied by x. So we have x squared here. And after that, we do the two ordered terms, which are x here and the negative 2 here. So we have x multiplied by negative 2, which gives you a negative 2x. And after that, two inner terms are negative 2 and x here. So now we have negative 2x. And the last two terms are negative 2 and negative 2. So we have multiplication of those two numbers. So now we have a positive 4. And after that, we combine the coefficient of x. So we have a negative 4x here. And that's the final answer. Here's the general form for completing the square. So normally we have a ax plus b squared. That equals a squared times x squared plus 2ab times x plus b squared. So it's better to memorize it so we can solve the problem faster. Second error, improper distribution. Here's the example. I have a 4 times parentheses 2x minus 1 squared. Here's the incorrect sample. So some students, they did the multiplication first. So means they distribute 4 to each terms, and after that, they made the first mistake when they're doing the completing square. So this is totally wrong. You will not get any partial credit for this. And here's the correct answer. So again, we check everything inside the parentheses. There's nothing that we can simplify more. So then we check the exponent. So we expand the square into two identical parentheses. And after that, we can do the multiplication. So we apply the FOIL method to get all the terms out. And after that, we do the minus or the plus to see if we can simplify more. Here, we can have a negative 4 because we can combine those two terms. In the end, we distribute the 4 to each term. So in the end, we have 16x squared minus 16x plus 4. Here, I would like to mention the order of operations. So first, we always compute everything, simplify everything within the parentheses. And then we go to the exponent, and then multiplication and divisions, and the end we can calculate the addition and the subtractions. Number 3 is parentheses behind a negative sign. Here is the example. Simplify 4 minus 2 parentheses x minus 2 parentheses. And here's the incorrect way. So some of you would just, remove the parentheses and keep everything the same. And this is not correct. And I believe many of you already noticed that. There's a 2 negative sign here. So instead of a negative sign, we will have a positive sign here. It's a silly errors, but still many people make when they are learning algebra. So here I have to say that please double check the sign before removing parentheses. If it's a positive, then you are good to go. You just simply remove it. If it's a negative, then you have to check whatever the sign inside the parentheses is. Is a positive, then you're going to have a negative. Is a negative, then you have a positive after you remove the parentheses. Number 4, square root. Square root is kind of confusing, and I have 2 examples. The first one is just given square root of a number. And so what is the answer for that? I guess many of you will say 3. And some of you will say positive minus 3. And which one is correct? The incorrect one is plus minus 3. And the correct one is positive 3. Why is that? That's because square roots always return a positive answer or 0. And sometimes you may see a negative answer or number. That's when you have a negative sign in front of square root. Let's say you have square root of 8 and I have a negative sign in front of it. Then that's gonna be a square root of, it's gonna be a 2 square root of 2. Right? So that's only when you have a negative sign in front of the square root. Then you have negative numbers. Otherwise, it's always positive or 0. And here's another example. We have to solve for the unknown variable x given an equation. So x plus 1 squared equals 9. The incorrect way is just simply taking the square root on both sides and simplify them and give the final answer. However, this is not completely correct. You are missing another answer. So here, make sure that you add a plus minus sign before you find the value of square root. So it means if you are taking the square root on both sides, you have to add the plus minus, either on the left hand side or on the right hand side, but most of the time right hand side, on the one with the constant number. And after that, you simplify the step and you get the 2 solutions. One is positive, one is negative. So the difference between the second example and the first example is that in the second example, you are taking the square root. However, in the previous one, the square root is given. So whatever it is, if it's a positive, then it's positive. If it's negative square root, then it's negative. But here, you have to consider both of the situation, right? This x plus 1 here can be positive. It can also be negative. So here's the conclusion. So plus minus appears before we find the value of the square root. And this step is really, really important. And number 5, additive and subtractive errors. Here I provide a list of those 2 error samples, and they are very straightforward. So let's say here we cannot split the terms when we have exponential functions, and we can't do that for the radical. We cannot do that to the denominator, but we can do to the numerator. So x plus y over z is equal to x over z plus y over z, and not to the trig, and not to the general function. So for the trig, it's better to memorize or get familiar with the trig identities, right? So you will not make that silly mistake. Number 6, commutative errors. And we know that addition and multiplication, they're commutative, but not subtraction and division. Because you can do a plus b, you can switch a and b. So a plus b is equal to b plus a. So same thing happened 2 times. And here I have the error samples with other operations, such as square root and multiplication, logarithmic function, and trigonometry here. So those are not correct. So we can't just simply switch, the log with the x here. We cannot switch the 2 in sign here. Number 7, logarithm errors. So here's a list of logarithm errors, and I have to say that please memorize those log laws, because this is very straightforward as well, and unfortunately most of the time they are not on the cheat sheet. So I do encourage you to memorize them. And we can see here log of addition is going to be a log times a log, and if here's a minus, then it's a division. And the last one is trigonometry errors. Here is the list of trigonometry errors. So this is more like a notation error, because sometimes they're confusing, right? So let's say here n is not the power of x, it's the power of the whole thing, sine. Okay, and this -1 is not the power of cosine. It's not like that. So this negative stands for the arc cosine, the inverse function. So other than that, we have to, get familiar with the trig identities. So then, you can get faster when you're looking for them on the exam. So they are most of the time on the cheat sheet. Thank you for watching my videos. So that's all the common errors that I want to share. If you think it's helpful, please click on the thumb up. If you want more tutorial videos, please subscribe my channel. Thank you very much.